On to the next segment.
I got a question. I got a question. So I don't know if you've been seeing this thing about Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
So they've done Rushmore of
comedians,
grime MCs, which is a bit mad.
Oh, interesting.
They left out Getz. Imagine that. But
wait, who was on that one?
I think it was Wiley. I can't even remember. But it was they left off Getz and they left off someone else. They left off Dizzy Rascal.
Wow.
Imagine that. But anyway.
Interesting.
So Americans have taken on, they've done their Mount Rushmore of hip hop. Who would be on your Mount Rushmore of comedy? And that can be domestic and internationally.
Four faces, right?
4 faces.
So I'm gonna. They do it live.
Yeah.
So you're saying mix it up with English and American?
Mix it up.
All right, cool. That's a very interesting one. So I have to say, my 2 from the UK would be Slim.
Right, yeah.
Slim would definitely be up there. And
shout goes out to Slim.
Yeah, shout out to Slim. And I would say Felix Dexter.
Dexter, yeah.
God bless Felix Dexter. R.I.P. to Felix. Felix was a very integral part of that Room McCoy show. He had his own segment. The character thing was so ahead of his time. One of the most talented, gifted people. I once remember Felix doing a show with him, and I think he told us backstage that he had a big argument with his girl, his wife. Had a big argument. He come in raging, and he went on stage and just let it all out. And that's when I realized that this is a great space to kind of release private things, you know what I mean, creatively. So I learned so much from that man, and it was a pleasure to kind of know him and work with him. And to the other 2, Jesus. First of all, I've got to say Chappelle, because I think he is the greatest, only because there's no other version of him. Chappelle isn't like another comedian. Do you know what I mean? He's not like anyone else. He's just absolutely himself, unique. And then the last person I have to say, this is bad.
If you don't say who I want him to say, I might kick him. I don't know what. I don't know how I'm going to react.
Lock off his mic.
Honestly, this man is the blueprint. Everyone followed him apart from Dave. Everybody. Richard Pryor.
Okay.
Richard Pryor. Eddie was my idol, Martin Lawrence, but they all were versions of Richard Pryor.
In some way.
Bernie is another person who I say was unique, had his own style, not like anyone else. If it was 4 Americans, Bernie would be on my Mount Rushmore. Do you know what I mean? But for me, Richard Pryor is the godfather.
Absolutely.
Even white comedians were trying to be like him. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's my Mount
I got
Rushmore.
one quick question. Because you mentioned something earlier about talent and about relevance.
Yeah.
So right now, in the world where it's a lot, I don't want to say easier, I look at it in the world of DJing, for example. What we had to go through in the 90s as a DJ, buying records and all that, as to what we have to do now to get music is very different. You've transcended from comedy, from going from the clubs then to now seeing how social media is affecting.
Yeah.
What would you say is I don't want to say the easiest, but what would you say is the blueprint of how it should work? Would you say it was better going through what you went through in the 90s? Or would you say today is the way it should be done?
I think it's different. I think we did what we had to do. They're doing what they have to do. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. I think their outcomes is reaching thousands of people that don't have to get dressed, put on makeup, whatever, and LOL's okay for them. For us, we heard the laughter. It was tangible, it was real, it was in your face. That one there, you had to be funny. There was no editing on stage. There's none of that. So it's not to discredit them, but they're doing what works now. And I think it's consistency. It's more about consistency now. It's not necessarily about, is this person brilliant? It's about, if you're consistent enough, then you can build a following. You don't have to be good. You just got to be consistent. Whereas I think with us, we had to be good. You know what I mean? And we had to be consistent every time we do a show. The thing in comedy is you're as good as your last show. Not 10 shows ago, not what you did last year and all the other stuff. Like, you're as good as your last show. And in being in front of people that had paid money, that got dressed, that had babysitter, all them thing there. You know what I mean? The pressure was really on you to be funny. Whereas I don't think there's any pressure online. I think you just got to be consistent. So I think everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. Okay. But it's just a different time, and you got to respect the new time.
Okay, so thank you very much, Kojo. Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.